It's right.
Okay. So, we're going to be in Numbers chapter 4. And what Numbers chapter 4 deals with is, it is going to be discussing the duties of the 3 tribes of Aaron, or the 3 tribes of Levi. Okay. So, what it is specifically going to deal with is the discussion of the tabernacle and what each of the tribes of Levi are supposed to do. Now, understand, Levi had 3 sons, okay, and that makes up these tribes. Moses and Aaron's sons are part of, or would have been part of, the sons of Kohath. But because that's the family of the high priest, their duties are different. Okay. So in chapter 4, verse 1, it says, the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, take a census. Okay. So take account of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi by their clans and their fathers' houses. Okay. Now that census is to involve all men between the ages of 30 and 50. Okay. So at this time, you had a 20-year period where you were responsible for working for the tabernacle between the age of 30 and 50. Okay. All who can come on duty to do the work in the tent of meeting. Now, remember, earlier it says that nobody who was crippled, nobody who was blind, if you had a physical deformity, then you couldn't do this. Okay, so it had been all the able-bodied sons of Kohath between the ages of 30 and 50. Now, this is the service of the sons of Kohath in the tent of meeting. And their job was to carry the most holy things. Okay, so the way this would work, and this is how it explains, when the camp is to set out, okay, and we talked a little bit, it doesn't give us all the details of this yet, but remember that what would happen is the presence of the Lord would lift up off of the tent of meeting, and it would move to the edge of the camp in the direction that God wanted them to go. And that was sign, okay, time to break camp and let's go. So what they would do is then it says, Aaron and his sons shall go in and take down the veil of the screen. So remember, that veil that goes between the holy place and the most holy place, they're in there. Okay, so it separates the ark from the rest of the tabernacle. They take the screen first, they take it down, and they place it over the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, so they cover the Ark of the Testimony with it. Then on top of the screen, they would take a goat skin covering, okay, another covering of animal hide, and then spread on top of that a blue cloth and would put in the poles. Okay, so we have layers once again. And remember, this is kind of one of those things that we deal with quite a bit. So the Ark of the Covenant is this massive golden box. No one except, and at this time it would be no one but Moses and Aaron could look on it. Okay, later it becomes no one but the high priest. Okay, could look on it. So they covered it. Okay, and then the next thing it says, and then after that, they will take the table of the bread of the presence, so the table of the showbread, and they would spread a cloth of blue, okay, over that, and then they would take, and apparently over the cloth of blue, then they would put all the plates, the dishes, all the utensils.
Does the blue represent something?
Probably, although it is not completely clear what it, okay. but remember that probably some level of royalty. Okay, because remember that the tabernacle is made with white linen, blue, purple, gold, red. Okay, so the blue cloth is part of the coloring of the tabernacle already. So in some ways, it's a matching cloth. Okay, then they would put everything that they used for it. Okay, and the bread that was to be on it for that period of time. Then on that, they would spread a cloth of scarlet and then cover the same with a covering of goat skin and then put in the poles. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting discussion, at least at this point. You have the blue cloth covered item is the Ark of the Covenant. And then the table of the showbread is covered in scarlet cloth. So it's red.
But they put the blue one down first.
There's a blue in there too, but the one everyone would see would be red.
Right. I didn't know they had poles to carry that.
There's poles to carry everything.
Well, it must be really important where they have to have it in a certain order.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if he's put it down here, it must be important.
And it is, but remember that it is not so much the meaning of the color or determining that this color means something. The determination that makes it so important is the fact that God is a God of order and you do it God's way and nobody else's way.
Yeah. Kind of a type of obedience.
Right. Okay. And in a lot of ways, what we're talking about is a level of showing the correct reverence.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it says next, you take a blue cloth. Okay. They take another blue cloth and cover the lampstand for the light with its lamps, its tongs, its trays, and all the vessels for oil with which it is supplied. And they shall put it with all its utensils in a covering of goat skin and put it on the carrying frame. So in this case, because the lampstand is designed the way it is, they have a special stand that the lampstand sits on that then has the poles. Okay. So then over the golden altar, they spread a cloth of blue, then cover it with a covering of goat skin and shall put in its poles. Now remember,
This is the ark, though, right?
no, the first one's the ark.
Okay.
Okay, the ark is so let's go back and look at it. The ark is covered with the veil, then a covering of goat skin, and then on that a blue cloth. Then over the table, a blue cloth, then the plates, the cups, the dishes, everything like that. Then a red cloth, and then the goat skin. Okay, so really the red cloth isn't even seen as much as all that. It's a goat skin covering. Okay, so it'd be fur, it'd be hair. Okay, then the lampstand is covered with blue, then wrapped in goat skin, and then put on a frame to carry. Then the altar, and remember, this altar is not the altar of sacrifice. This is the altar of incense. Okay, so this is the golden altar. Okay, so they spread a cloth of blue over it, cover it with goat skin, and then they put it in its poles. They shall take all the vessels of service that are in the sanctuary and put them in a cloth of blue and cover them with a covering of goat skin and put on the carrying frame. So anything that has not already been mentioned, any utensil, any, okay. Then, and they shall take away the ashes from the altar. Okay, so now we're talking about the altar of the burnt offering. Okay, take away the ashes from the altar of burnt offering and spread a purple cloth over it. Now, this is the first time we see purple. Okay, And they shall take all its utensils of the altar, which are used for the service there, the fire pans, the forks, the shovels, and the basins, all the utensils of the altar, and they shall spread on it a covering of goat skin and shall put in its poles. Okay. Now, once again, we notice that there is a separation between the things that are outside of the tent and the things that are inside of the tent. Okay. So then it goes on and it says, okay, let me make sure I am where we are. And when Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sanctuary and all the furnishings of the sanctuary, as the camp sets out, after that, the sons of Kohath shall come to carry these. But they must not touch the holy things lest they die. So now understand what this means. All of these coverings are to place a layer of protection between people that are not part of the priests and the things that are only for the priests. So they could touch the poles. But if they reached out and touched the goat skin, that was fine. But if they tried to slip under and actually touch the ark itself, then say goodbye.
Gotcha. And it sounds like they're carrying like the altar of incense and all that with all the utensils on top of it. What if the utensils started to fall?
It's a design. It's design. The way they are giving a brief description. There is certainly a way for all this to work where it would have been stable and sturdy.
Okay, so there would be no chance of it
Right.
accidentally falling and then.
And remember, also, none of the dishes are going to break.
No.
They're not made of glass. They're made of metal.
So let it fall and say, hey, Aaron, we need your help.
But at the same time, the idea is that this stuff is holy and
Nobody's to touch.
right. Okay. So then it goes on. Okay. These are the things of the tent of meeting that the sons of Kohath are to carry. Then verse 16, and Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, shall be in charge of the oil for the light, the fragrant incense, the regular grain offering, and the anointing oil, with the oversight of the whole tabernacle and all that is in it, of the sanctuary and its vessels. Okay, so Aaron and his sons go set all that up, and then Eleazar is in charge of making sure that the oil is properly stored, the grain for the bread is properly stored, the incense is properly stored, the anointing oil is properly stored for the trap. Okay, then the Lord spoke to Moses, the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, let not the tribe of the clans of the Kohathites be destroyed from among the Levites, but deal thus with them, that they may live and they may not die when they come near the most holy things. Aaron and his sons shall go in and appoint them each to his task and to his burden, but they shall not go in to look on the holy things, even for a moment, lest they die. So what this is saying is make sure that you are clear about how this works. Aaron, you and your sons go in, cover everything, and then you walk in with the Kohathites and you so, okay, you two carry that, you two carry that, you two carry that, you four carry that, you three, however it's going to work. You assign each of them what they're going to carry, but you stay in there to make sure they don't do something they're not supposed to.
At least they die.
Lest they die. Okay, very important element to this. Now, verse 21 begins. The Lord spoke to Moses saying, now take a census of the sons of Gershon. Now, Gershon is the next son of Levi. Sorry. So once again, from 30 years old up to 50, You shall list them, all who can come to duty to do service in the tent of meeting. Now, this is the service of the clans of the Gershonites. They are in serving and bearing burdens. They shall carry the curtains of the tabernacle and the tent of meeting with its covering and the covering of goat skin that is on top of it, and the screens for the entrance of the tent of meeting. So now we go in and say, and notice this is really, really, really neat the way this works. They are going in order of how it would be torn down. The Kohathites come in first and get all the furniture. Once all the furniture's been taken out, then the Gershonites go in and begin to take down all of the cloth of the tabernacle. Well, it is holy. It's just,
they can touch it.
The things that are inside is what they touch, but they're outside.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
So they have been designated to carry the stuff of the building.
Wonder if the age of 30 to 50 is done. When you reach the age of 30, you're very mature.
They're supposed to be.
Supposed to be. And then, at 50, you're not going to be as,
Spry.
yeah.
That's right.
Right. So, but understand, now we go in and we deal with all the curtains, all the hangings, all the cords, and the sons of Gershon come and tear all that out and prepare it to travel. Okay. So, but once again, the same thing kind of happens here. It says, they shall do all that needs to be done with regard to them. All the service of the sons of the Gershonites shall be at the command of Aaron and his sons in all that they are to carry and all that they have to do. You shall assign to their charge all that they are to carry. This is the service of the clans of the sons of the Gershonites in the tent of meeting, and their guard duty. Okay, so their guarding of the equipment and all of that is to be under the direction of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest. So this is the younger son. Okay, because remember that the two oldest sons are already gone. They've been killed by the Lord for not doing what they were supposed to.
Transpired.
Right. Okay. So verse 29 then goes on, and as for the sons of Merari, which is the youngest son of Levi, and all their clans and their father's house, once again, from 30 years old up to 50 years old, you shall list them, everyone who can come on duty to do the service of the tent of meeting. And this is what they are charged to carry. As the whole of their service in the tent of meeting, the frames of the tabernacle with its bar, pillars, and bases, and the pillars around the court with their bases, the pegs and cords with all the equipment and all their accessories. Okay. So what we are seeing is a picture of how they tear down the tabernacle.
Very methodical.
Uh-huh.
You know, we tend to think when they say the tent or the tabernacle, we just think the tent is just gonna go.
Yeah, not at all.
No, there's a lot. And then you're reading this, I thought, all the times I read it, it never sunk in to it.
So, and understand that what is, and so this also is important. So notice it says list them. Now it doesn't, I think a little later it gives us full numbers. Okay. But the idea is that you didn't carry it every time. And it was probably passed from person to person throughout the travel.
Yeah.
Well, refreshing the people that were there,
Mhm.
so they didn't have to carry it the whole.
Okay. So it goes on. So, and Moses and Aaron, so once again, the whole of their service under the direction, once again, of Ithamar, the younger son. Okay. Moses and Aaron and the chiefs of the congregation listed the sons of the Kohathites by their clans and their father's house. From 30 years old up to 50 years old, everyone who could come on duty for service in the tent of meeting. And those listed by clans were 2,750 people. Okay, so the Kohathites, just the males between the ages of 30 and 50, are 2,750.
Just to these sons of Aaron.
Yeah, this what?
The sons of Aaron.
Well, the sons of Kohath.
Okay.
Aaron and them would have been part of that, but they would not have done this job. But they are, but this is the lead. So this gives us a little bit of an understanding of some things in the New Testament. So let's make sure we deal with it real quick. Remember the story of the Good Samaritan? Okay. So remember how it's phrased. The man is beaten, left for dead, stripped of all of his clothes, all of his possessions. He's laying naked and bleeding on the side of the road. And first, a priest comes by. So a priest is a son of Aaron. Now, we're generations and generations past that now. But still, they would have been of the lineage of Aaron. Next, a Levite comes by. A Levite is one of the sons of Levi. They do service for the tabernacle and service for the Lord, but they are not priests. And so now watch. You have, for the story of the Good Samaritan, you have the two groups of people that everybody who's a Jew would think, oh, well, they'll help.
Mm-hmm.
Only they don't. Okay. So what we are getting counted here are the Levites who do service for the Lord. The priests are Aaron and his sons. Okay, so 2,750 Kohathites. The listed of the sons of Gershon by their clan and their father's house from 30 years old up to 50 years old, everyone who could come on duty for service in the tent of meeting. Those listed by their clans and their father's houses were 2,630. Okay, this was the list of the clans of the sons of Gershon, all who served in the tent of meeting when Moses and Aaron listed according to the commandment of the Lord. And then 42 goes in, those listed of the clans of the sons of Merari by their clans and their fathers' houses, from 30 years old up to 50 years old, everyone who could come on duty for service in the tent of meeting. Those listed by clans were 3,200. So there's actually more of them. Okay. However, let's also mention they had the heaviest lifting. Because imagine lifting all the beams and all of that. Okay. Maybe with the exception of the candle stand, none of the articles of the tabernacle were all that heavy. So understand that we think of the ark. The ark is a box made out of a light wood and then completely covered with gold.
Which would make it really heavy.
Well, no, because it wouldn't be very thick.
So they would just put a thin layer?
Well, that's how it's phrased. It's a hammered
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hammered gold around. And so what do? Remember that while we don't realize it, gold can be hammered incredibly thin. In
Yeah.
fact,
It can be hammered so thin it can turn into pretty much paper. In
right.
fact, maybe even fragile.
Well, gold leaf is,
Oh, is that hammers?
well, it's not necessarily hammered, but gold
Yeah.
can be made extremely thin.
Like into less
In
fragile
fact, if you were
paper.
to go to Washington, D.C., one of the things they will tell you is that the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., the dome is overlaid in gold. But the reason is not to make it prettier. Gold does not rust. And so the gold covering over the Capitol is actually a protective of the marble on the dome. So we don't know. I mean, we're not talking gold leaf thin on the Ark of the Covenant. But understand that while, yes, a big bar of gold is pretty heavy, a large beam, and I think it says 4-inch by 6-inch by 25 foot, I think is the number. I'd have to go back and look. Cedar beam that is then overlaid in gold is going to weigh a whole lot more than a 3 foot by 2 foot by 1.5 foot box.
Yeah.
I mean, not light by any stretch, but
Also
so,
not heavy.
well, I mean, it was made so they could carry it.
Like not lightweight, but can carry.
Okay.
Two men that carry.
2 or 4.
Two
Wait, so whenever it says like the beams, is it like that and then with 4 people they're each holding one beam? Or
It probably was. It doesn't say exactly, but you're probably talking about 2 men taking a beam and putting it on their shoulder.
so like with 2, like
Maybe
this,
just one. We don't
and then-
know. But what we know is that they were responsible for carrying the wooden beams of the tent and all of that are part of that process. Exactly how it worked, we're not given all that information, at least not here. Okay. So then it goes on and it says, then it gives us a full list and it says all those who were listed of the Levites, okay, whom Moses and Aaron and the chief of Israel listed by their clans and their fathers' houses from 30 years old up to 50, everyone who could come to do the service of ministry. Those listed, now this is all 3 together, 8,580 people. Okay. According to the commandment of the Lord through Moses, they were listed, each one with his task of serving or carrying. Thus they were listed by him as the Lord commanded Moses. Okay. So notice that we have a detail where there is a very, very specific way they took down the tabernacle. Okay. Now, before we move to chapter 5, I'm going to do something a little weird. I didn't know how long we were going to have. So let's go back to, I believe it's chapter 2. Okay.
Sorry.
What's going on?
Got another place to go.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Bye, Monkey.
You have a good night. We're gonna hurry through this, and then when we get through this, we'll be done. So it won't be a long period of time. Okay. Oh, let me make sure. Okay, there you go. We're not gonna go through all of this. I just want you to look at a couple things. So this is the camp. Okay, what I want you to see is the camp. Okay, so when the children of Israel would camp, the tabernacle would be dead center of the camp. Okay, and then camped around the tabernacle would be the sons of Levi. Okay, then on the east side of the camp, so think of, here's the tabernacle. Okay, so if we're looking at a map, here's the tabernacle, the children of Levi are around here. Then on the east side goes Judah. Okay, And his, now this will give you some information on the numbers too. Judah and his company that are listed at 74,600 people. That's how many they counted. That's just men over the age of 20.
Not counting women and children.
Okay. Those who camp next to him shall be Issachar. Okay. So on the east side, you have Judah, you have Issachar, and you have Zebulun. Okay. They are on the east side of the camp. And whenever you get ready to leave, they march first. They're in the lead. Okay. On the south side, so down here, so you still have this idea, you have Reuben. Okay. He had 46,000 people. Then Simeon, okay, with 45,000 people. No, 59,000 people. And then Gad. Okay. They shall set out second. Okay. Then the tent of meeting shall set out with the camp of the Levites. So they're talking about setting out, but it also gives us the picture of what it looks like. We have 3 tribes on the east side of the tabernacle, 3 tribes on the south side of the tabernacle. They have set off. Then the Levites and the ark, they go in the center of the line. And then on the west side, we have Ephraim and his 40,000 people. Manasseh and their 32,000 people. Okay. And then Benjamin and their 35,000 people go immediately behind the ark and the Levites. And then on the north side of the camp, okay, we have Dan, okay, and his 62,000 people. Asher and his 41,000 people. And then Naphtali with his 53,000 people. And they will be out last. Okay. So these are the people of Israel as listed by their fathers' houses. All those listed in the camp by their companies. By the way, this is not count the Levites. Okay.
Why not?
Because they don't have land. So remember the Levites. So now that's not exactly how I would phrase it. When we discuss the 12 tribes of Israel, Levi is not included. He is a tribe, but he does not have an inherited spot. Levi is interspersed throughout the other tribes. Okay. So, but the number total, not including Levi, is 603,550.
Quite a parade.
Quite a parade,
And that's
not
only
including
counting-
women and children.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's only counting the men of between the ages of 50 and.
Okay.
Is that to protect the tabernacle at all costs?
Well, it's part of it, but it's also just to set an order for the marching.
Otherwise it would
Mhm.
chaos.
It-
And they
it-
sure didn't pick up.
right.
Oh, no.
And so they would get up, they'd move, they'd go. And then when God said not time to stop, then they would set up so the tabernacle would be set up first, and then the Levites would camp around it. And then the rest of Israel would camp in a circle around. Right. And remember, and it's such an interesting discussion. It also says something very important about some of the things we know. Remember that for the entire time they are going, when they are camped, all day there is a pillar of cloud coming out of the top of the tabernacle. And all night there's a pillar of fire. So they have a column of light in the dead center of their
Camp.
camp.
Which makes sense. You'd want to follow around.
And by the way, I saw something, and I don't know if it's true. It's a book, it's a fiction novel, but he made the discussion of this, that the pillar of cloud would have provided them shade during the day. So they're not baking under the sun.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Okay,
But go ahead.
by a pillar of cloud. I know it doesn't say what it means, but like, would it look like just like a really massive cloud just
So it comes straight out of the tent and goes up, and then it probably fans out like a massive thunderhead.
okay?
Okay. We don't know for sure, but that's at least a
And then the
way of
pillar of fire seems like it's a little more,
self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory.
it's a little more
Well,
explainable.
you would think those two signs right there would be very intimidating to any enemy that would want to
Uh-huh.
attack.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
But also the light at night, it's a guiding light to always keep your eye on the light.
You would also think that those two signs would keep the children of Israel remembering what they were supposed to do.
Apparently not.
It's here, but they're a little fickle.
Sometimes
But-
very thick skull too.
But think about it this way. Okay, so this is the funny thing I always think of. So there are a few things in the modern world that is more impressive than the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower and if you go visit one of those places, you are in awe. But if you live next to it,
It's no big deal.
Yeah.
eventually you lose the awe that goes along with it.
Like it's like seeing dogs. If you see dogs, they are the coolest things ever. When you live with them,
After a while, they annoy you.
not so much.
But understand that's a very powerful element in this, is that we're sitting here watching God set the way they camp, set the way they travel, set the way they everything. And yet we watch them over and over and over and over again fail to live up to the standard that God has given them. Okay. So we are going to stop right there. We will pick up next time. I'm making sure that I read what we're we will deal with chapter 5. We're going to get into the really fun one at verse 11, because verse 11 of chapter 5 is the biblical test to see if your spouse has been unfaithful to you.
Oh no!
I don't know at what level we will really go into that, but it is rather fun to say that it says if a husband thinks that his wife has gone astray, he sends her to the tabernacle with an offering, and then she makes a vow before the Lord about whether she has whether she's been unfaithful, and then she drinks something, and if she hasn't been unfaithful, then everything's fine. If she has been unfaithful, then her womb shrivels in the way the ESV says it, and her thigh falls off. So
Oh. Eyeballs.
Okay.
In some ways, God's a little sarcastic.
it will cause her bitter pain, and it will take away her ability to bear children is the idea. And yet, if she has not, if she has been faithful, then no harm will come to her. Now, I'm going to tell you just in passing, and we'll see how much we go into it next week. This is a passage that a lot of people will try to go in and say, see, even God believed in abortion and all of this. No, that's not what this says.
No, you're killing a baby.
No. You punish somebody that
Uh-huh.
stepped out of her marriage. There's
So-
a big difference.
So anyway,
The only
we
way
will
you
we will
can
get into
get-
that a little
the only
more
way you
next
can
week.
get close to God supporting abortion is possibly David's situation when he sinned in his kingdom.
Right.
Even that was well deserved.
But
That
if-
had a purpose.
Yeah,
But if God kills the child, it is completely different than us killing a child.
Well, I was gonna say, but he didn't kill it in the womb.
No, he
died
let it be
after.
born.
He died after he was born.
And it was sick.
And that was.
All right.
basically to let-
Well, have a wonderful night. I hope that everybody has a good evening.